Transforming Lives, Learning for Lifelong Knowledge and Improvement. Video 1, Learning, Teaching, Objectives, and Outcomes.
Hello, welcome to the Transforming Lives video series. These videos will provide orientation and support to make learning the foundation for both lifelong knowledge and continuous improvement. They will provide training to help you create learning outcomes, student evidence assignments, and rubrics. They will help you transform lives by ensuring your students have the 21st century employment skills and self-awareness they need. I want to emphasize that your teaching will remain much the same. It is student learning that will be the focus. The educational experiences you provide are already imparting much of the lifelong knowledge, skills, habits, values, and traits that our students require. These videos will help you articulate, message, and measure all of it. Are you ready to change the educational world? Matrix. Hey, The Matrix is on. That's my favorite movie. Honey, just hit pause on the camera. Where did these M&Ms come from?
Education can be thought of as a mix of learning and teaching. While this video will emphasize the differences between teaching and learning, the truth is they are inextricably connected. They are much like a two-sided coin, sharing a common middle. In fact, it is hard to tell where one ends and the other begins, depicted here by the two vertical dotted lines, which are meant to emphasize where the two overlap. Like the middle of the coin that binds the halves together, this overlap region connects learning and teaching. We will be spending time creating learning experiences that live in this middle ground, bridging learning and teaching. Because program review and learning outcomes assessment utilize student data, grades, and learning outcomes scores respectively, program review and learning outcomes assessment naturally live on the learning side. Because it directly supports teaching, the course outline of record, or COR, resides on the teaching side. The learning side houses all the work we do to improve learning and teaching. These days, this is called continuous improvement. Think of the teaching side as our public face. Here reside all the traditional educational elements used by students on their way to earning an award. To emphasize the differences between learning and teaching, consider the foundational constructs for each. For learning, we have outcomes. In instruction, we have CLOs, course learning outcomes, PLOs, program learning outcomes, and ILOs, institutional learning outcomes. For teaching, objectives and course content are foundational. Learning objectives, the associated learning experiences, and the course outline of record, or COR, are the foundational constructs. Notice the difference between outcome and objective. Outcomes live on the learning side. Objectives live on the teaching side. Outcomes are achievable, representing the lifelong knowledge, skills, habits, traits, and values students should learn and retain even after the course content evaporates. Objectives are intentional. They are used to plan the learning experiences that both teach the course content and impart the outcomes. Let's look at some possible PLO-CLO statements and the learning experiences to which they connect. In later videos, we'll discuss how to create these and how to determine whether an outcome should be a PLO or a CLO. Consider the learning experience of completing a research paper. The knowledge of the course content can and certainly should be part of the grade. It is the lifelong skills that are of interest for learning and improvement. In this example, the habit of mind thinking and communicating with clarity and precision could serve as a CLO or PLO statement, since it embodies an important transferable skill gained through the learning experience of completing a research paper. Or how about the learning experience of a group project? Working with other students and hearing their thoughts should increase every participant's discipline knowledge. But what about the transportable lifelong skill of working well with others? For success of the group, the habit of mind thinking interdependently needs to be practiced during the group project and become a lifelong habit. Assessing this habit would be a challenge for the instructor to do directly, so utilizing a series of student reflections would be appropriate. Ideally, several group interactions would occur in the class, and the rubric would be supplied to the students at the outset, so they could measure and self-report their improvement utilizing this habit of mind over the course of the semester. A field trip provides many learning opportunities for the student. Obviously, the destination should be chosen to provide deeper knowledge of the discipline, say a trip to the Grand Canyon for a geology class. But no matter the location, the experience of a field trip is building a number of lifelong skills. One of these is to gather data through all senses, an important habit to practice whether one is on a field trip or not. Student evidence in the form of leading short answer questions could be collected, or a student reflection used. In either case, the rubric would be supplied to the students at the outset so they could measure and report their improvement utilizing this habit of mind.
Did you hear that? The machines changed something in the matrix. Uh-oh, it's an agent. Yikes! I've been looking for you. Wanted to share an epiphany I had during my time as your assessment coordinator. It came when I tried to clarify our professional title. We are not educators. Like us, educators teach, but educators also facilitate the acquisition and practice of lifelong knowledge, skills, habits, values, and traits. But we do not. Instead, we teach and grade, semester after semester, decade after decade. Ironically, the literacies and competencies needed by students for numerous jobs and multiple careers are imparted through our educational experiences, but no one, not us, nor future employers, not even the students themselves, can articulate them. There was a time when earning a degree for a single career was sufficient for life preparation, but the world has changed dramatically, drastically. Education must now provide a transportable skill set. To do this, lifelong knowledge, skills, habits, values, and traits need to be articulated, messaged, measured, and practiced. True, to learn to think, one needs to think about something. So teaching course content will always be a foundational element of education. But that alone is not nearly enough. He's creepy. But being a machine, also exceedingly direct, he's right about education needing to provide the literacies and competencies required for personal enrichment, civic engagement, and continuous employment.
Let's look at ways to measure lifelong knowledge conceptually. We will look at real-world and educational examples in later videos. Let's start with the familiar, teaching and the course outline of record. But to emphasize the difference between teaching and learning, as well as the difference between objective and outcome, let's look at the planning for and teaching of a given course in terms of goals. Each semester, we prepare to teach our courses by consulting the course outline of record. Our goal is to provide a comprehensive, organized educational experience for our students. But there are other goals in play. The students are likely taking our course with a long-term goal of earning a certificate, degree, or completing their 4-year transfer preparation. Our own college has a mission that outlines a set of goals to be achieved on behalf of its students and service area. When the course content and objectives drive learning experiences that satisfy our learning outcomes, the college mission, vision, values, and equity pledge should be realized. While there are commonalities, let's consider the differences between our goals and those of our students and institution. Each time we teach a course, we review the course content and learning objectives sections of the COR to ensure successful lesson planning. We build the course content into our lessons and use the learning objectives to deliver that content with an eye toward achieving the goals of instructors, students, and the institution. Successful completion of the course will ensure students are not only prepared for success in future courses, but are also acquiring lifelong knowledge, skills, habits, values, and traits. From the instructor perspective, as we teach the course, the content will serve as the foundation for our lectures, readings, projects, etc., while the learning objectives focus on the central themes delivered by the course.
From the student and institutional perspectives, the learning objectives not only capture fundamental concepts of the discipline, but also serve as detailed aspects of larger long-term educational goals. These larger goals include the course program and institutional learning outcomes, as well as those contained in the college mission and equity pledge.
To ensure the objectives deliver the discipline content and support the foundation for lifelong learning, we create learning experiences for the students. These include lecture, discussion, papers, readings, group work, field trips, internships, projects, portfolios, and the like. Besides being used to determine grades, these experiences also impart the lifelong knowledge, skills, habits, values, and traits we expect our students to retain at the conclusion of the course. This knowledge and these skills, habits, values, and traits are embodied in the course learning outcomes, or CLOs. While the objectives and outcomes are both goals of sorts, the objective is intentional It is the means to achieve the goal. The outcome is achievable. It is the end, not the means.
As Linda Susky says in her book, Assessing Student Learning, a goal that truly describes an outcome explains why we do what we do. A faculty member's real goal is not that students write a term paper, but that they write effectively in their future studies and work. Let's unpack that last sentence. The real goal is not for the student to complete a task, but to practice a transportable skill, a skill that is necessary in the current course, will be necessary in future courses, and will be useful in life. While the task of completing the term paper is important, both to acquire knowledge in the discipline and earn a passing grade, it is the applicable, transferable knowledge gained through the process of completing the paper that constitutes lifelong learning, learning that is to be retained long after the course content has evaporated. It is the foundational knowledge of how to write future papers, gained from the practice of writing the current one, that is applicable and transferable.
To recap, the learning objectives lie on the teaching side. They operationalize the delivery plan for course content and learning outcomes. They are intentional and serve as the means to deliver the educational goals of instructors, students, and the institution. The learning objectives drive the learning experiences. The learning experiences bridge learning and teaching. They are the vehicle that deliver the course content and the skills, habits, values, and traits. The learning experiences impart the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes live on the learning side. They are the end, achievable, and quantify the attainment of educational goals of students and the institution. The skills, habits, values, and traits that comprise the lifelong knowledge students need for continuous employment and self-awareness. But when we confuse our learning objectives with outcomes and use objectives in place of outcomes, we inadvertently short-circuit the measurement of the lifelong knowledge imparted through the learning experiences. When our CLOs do not measure lifelong knowledge, skills, habits, values, and traits, the 21st century skill set our students desperately need is not articulated, messaged, or measured. And if learning outcomes are either identical to or derived directly from the learning objectives, learning outcomes assessment simply measures what assessment of the objectives is already measuring: digestion of the course content and completion of the associated tasks. Furthermore, confusing outcomes with objectives leads to conflating learning and teaching. Interpreting education solely as teaching emphasizes course content over lifelong knowledge. In this case, because learning itself is not a component of education in its own right, our view of learning can become limited solely to successful processing of the course content. In this scenario, when a student earns a passing grade, lifelong learning can only be assumed.
When the lifelong learning and the associated skills, habits, values, and traits have not been articulated or measured, no one, not the student, not the teacher, not the future employer, has any idea what the student actually knows how to do. You and I have traveled for years down this path. I'm not sure if you're ready to hear what I have to say, but we have run out of time. This may be our last chance. You're going to have to make a choice. You can take the blue pill, believing that education is just teaching and grading, or you can take the red pill, teaching much the same but messaging and measuring learning to ensure both you and your students realize your educational and life potential.
So how do we avoid confusing outcomes with objectives and conflating learning with teaching? How do we ensure that we measure learning and not just teaching? How do we make sure students are acquiring a foundation for lifelong learning and the associated skills, habits, values, and traits, rather than just processing course content and completing tasks? We have to create learning outcomes that align with the aims and values of the college mission, vision, values, and equity pledge. To do this, we incorporate backwards design. Starting with the goals of the college mission, vision, values, and equity pledge, and institutional outcomes, we work backwards toward the learning objectives and course content, creating PLOs, CLOs, and learning experiences that bridge learning and teaching.
Creating learning experiences that function as desired will likely be a challenge, but you will be given the training and tools in future videos. Thanks for watching. See you for video 2.
For more videos, visit the Transforming Lives channel.